What is going on, everybody? It is your boy Yakrates, and welcome to the deep dive. I do want to start this video off by saying two things. One, if you hear any noise in the background, they're doing construction like two houses over in the backyard, and my office is actually in the furthest part of my apartment. So if you hear it, I apologize in advance. That's number one. Number two, a nice chunk of this is going to deal with excerpts from Andy Cohen's latest book. So just want to prep that. So trying to keep it a little light instead of going heavy because there were a lot of heavy topics. I didn't want to really go too deep into that. So with that being said, let's go ahead. Let's jump into this show. So we first always start out with giving flowers. So first and foremost, want to give a rest in power to uh, General Colonel Powell, former U.S. Secretary of State and Chairman. He has passed away due to complications with COVID vaccine. He was 84, fully vaccinated, but at the same exact time, he was previously diagnosed with multiple, I think it's melanoma, a blood cancer that affects the immune system. So it could have been complications with COVID. It could have been the fact that he already had an ailment and that just took a toll because, it's been said if you already have an underlying health issue that, you know, things could go left. Like I said, I have asthma. So that right there is just like, ugh. So just wanted to mention that. But like I said, very distinguished, worked under several presidents and like I said, very upstanding, and like I said, he has a very very distinguished career. So rest in power, rest in peace, and till Valhalla. For those who are military, we tend to say that a lot for the fallen ones. So let's go ahead and jump into these topics, shall we? So starting off with Queens. Oh, why is that all the way over there? That one's supposed to be all the way over there. That's better. See, I can edit it, while I'm doing. Let me get my Keurig thing out the way. Y'all need to be seeing what's going on in the background. But Queens debuted this week, and from ooh, that did not work out right. But apparently they did not really bring in the numbers. I thought I had the numbers down. I do not, but they didn't really bring in the numbers. I watched it. It was pretty decent. It for me, it seemed very fast paced, almost giving Empire how Empire like literally was like boom, 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 boom. And I felt like some of that could have been fleshed out just a little bit more. But I mean, it was okay to watch. Some parts were predictable, but at the same time, I mean, if this is something that you enjoy, you do want to watch it. And like I said, I mean, it's all right. It's a decent show for me. It's something to watch. I'm not gonna review it, but I mean, it's definitely something to watch. But I will say if you guys like the show, try to watch it, DVR it, whatever, because if it's not getting the ratings, then there probably won't be a season two. And you have some shows where they just cancel it mid season because they're not getting a return on the investment. So, and since we're talking about not getting the numbers, so Ryan Swift Snitch reports, according to the reports, the Nick Cannon show brings in 400,000 views per day, making his the lowest ranking in all of daytime talk. I haven't watched it. Not really big fan of a lot of daytime television. I'd rather just watch my YouTube peers and whatnot because a little bit more unfiltered, a little bit more honest. But I will say he is stretching himself out very, very thin with all of his endeavors and whatnot. And I got it. He's trying to sit here and put the work in, but you don't want to stretch yourself so thin to where you're not giving your best at everything that you put your mind to. And it could be that, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe he also has lupus, so he also needs to take care that he doesn't do too much because you don't want something like that to rear his ugly head and put you down for the count. We already have one African American talk host who is sidelined at the moment. Don't need a second. But y'all let me know how you all feel about that. Moving forward, Meek Mill. So before I get into the tweet that he did, he released his album. From what I understand, there wasn't a whole lot of press behind it, and he has the album cover. I'm not going to show it, but it shows African American women in a very provocative state and whatnot. And this got a lot of people upset. And all that I'm going to say is what Meek Mill was doing is what people, well, companies do, especially those where we're not at the forefront, where they will put something out there that is very insensitive towards our community, and because they know that they can bank on our tears and our emotions, we will therefore give them all of that free press and promotion where it may be a little bit negative, but it's going to drive sales, which for what it's worth will balance itself out, and then they can pull their whole, oh, we're doing cultural sensitivity training, or we are allowing more melanated individuals on our boards and whatnot, that type of crap. So pretty much he used that to his advantage. Now I don't know what his album is selling, but that gave him a whole lot of promotion that he did not have at the moment. So this is one of those where you have to be weary of where you put your energy into, because the reality is you can be upset about some things, or if you are upset, you can just ignore it, don't come back to it, and just leave it where it's at, and it'll just fall by the wayside. Something to think about. But he is in trouble because of a certain tweet that he put out. Now, this is in relation to a concert that he's having in New York. Now, New York has very, very stringent COVID-19 stipulations for, and I believe either A, you need to have at least one of the vaccines, like one of the two vaccines, because you have to have one, then I believe wait 3 weeks and get the second one. You have to at least have been partially vaccinated or fully vaccinated, one of the two. Well, he is saying that if you are not vaccinated, you can just wear a mask to Madison Square Garden on the 23rd. And let's just say some people from New York were not having it. Okay. Some of them had to let him know, like, you doing the most. And I believe a lot of these New Yorkers are upset because, okay, you finna bring this foolishness here, and we're trying to get above the curve, and you gonna sit here and bring this foolishness over here, these people over here, and pretty much possibly set them back. So yeah, people were not really all that happy with Mr. Meek Mill. And I mean, yeah, do what you got to do to sell tickets, but come on, bruh. Come on, bruh. But I guess, hey, all publicity is good publicity. I guess that's what he's going with. And before we jump all the way into the Housewives, so it's being reported, and this is, where is it? There it is. So Rhymes with Snitch reports that for season 14 of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, so they've already begun filming, which is good because for a while they weren't. And it's being said that Nene Leakes will appear in at least 2 episodes. Now, some people feel that, well, the well is running dry. That's what that is. But then there's also the fact that she and Marlo are still friends. So this could be a way to bring her back just for a little bit. And we've seen this on other Housewife franchises where there's someone that they bring back just for 1 episode or two. And I'm going to speak about this momentarily. But even with Jill from New York, they brought her back because her husband passed away. And that was a way for them to somewhat close things out with her and Bethany. So they sometimes do it, but it is what it is. And with that being said, so let's go ahead and get into some of the tea. So Andy's book is Not All Diamonds Are Rosé. Now I was going to actually show the excerpts, but I'm not sure how that really works. So I ain't trying to get my channel snatched down or anything like that. So I'll just read it off to you what was being said. So we're first going to start off with Brandy Glanville and Denise Richards. So this is involving their whole little Brandy coming on because she wasn't brought back for that season, and literally came and dropped a bombshell that her and Denise were having relations. So in its excerpt, it starts out with Lisa Rinna saying maybe Denise knew Brandy's reputation and said, hey, this is a great person for me to F-U-C-K, because if it comes out, no one will believe her. Brandy Glanville says, what happened with Denise and I happened. It effing happened. She kept me quiet for 7 months. Her entire career was built on being sexual. She is a sex bomb, and now all of a sudden you're MFing Saint Teresa. Lisa Renner says, I remember them saying, okay, we're going to have a party at Kyle's and we're going to invite everybody and we're going to bring out all the OGs because nothing is going on. And that, and what happened is Denise found out Brandy was coming to the party and was scared that she would maybe say something about Aaron. And so Denise called Brandy and said, whatever you do, don't tell Aaron. Brandy Glanville says the second Denise knew I was filming, all of a sudden she was my best friend again. She had disappeared literally. I saw her when she F'd me and then didn't see her again until Kyle's party. Lisa Renner says it pissed her off and hurt her feelings. Brandy says it was like, I'm sorry, but you haven't called me for these past 7 months and now all of a sudden I'm your best friend. She was suddenly keeping me very close. It was some BS. Denise does not care about me. Clearly I felt like I was a cheater and I didn't want to be labeled as a cheater. Like, that's my whole brand. So when I told Kim drunkenly after Kyle's party, I knew it was going to be a thing. Well, here's the thing, Brandy. You did this because you tried to get back on the show. Let's be very, very clear. Because if no one really knew about it and this is your way of, and you're bringing it to the show, yeah. So obviously because of your antics, because of some of the things that you have said and done on this show that have been very problematic is the reason why you did not come back to the show as a full castmate, because that doesn't look good on the brand. Because what is going to happen is unless you are bringing in big dollars, they're not going to sit here and have you on the show to further tank it. So this is why you did it. Because if you weren't going to bring this bombshell, you wouldn't have been mic'd. They would have had to have brought one of those boom mics and had it over your head, like they did on Married to Medicine with Darren Noggles and that particular situation where the gentleman came on and said what he had to say. He wasn't mic'd. So this was all planned. This was all staged. You can miss me. Now, Lisa Renner says, my guess is Kim told Kyle and then Kim told production and they called Brandy and that's how it played out. I could see that happening. Chris Cullen said, the funny thing is we did a lot of research this year. Is Brandy credible? Do we have examples of Brandy lying? We went back to all the scenes and we really couldn't find any example of where Brandy lied. She told the truth about Adrian. She told the truth about Lisa Vanderpump. People may not believe her, but she told the truth about Kim being a effing mess. She might have gotten her drug of choice wrong, but Kim was using again and had fallen off the wagon. All of that was true. So yes, the critics will say that Brandy is not credible and then will cite examples, but they are incorrect in what they're citing. We don't really have evidence of Brandy ever lying. Okay. All right. I mean, kind of glossing over some things, but I mean, for what it's worth, not lying. Okay, cool. So let her have it. So Brandy says, so then Kim and I had this giant conversation and she was like, she's abusing you. She's an emotional terrorist. You have to effing talk about this. I said, I don't want to. Let it be my decision. And eventually it was like, F it. We're on a reality show, right? Let's effing do this. After confessing the story to Kim, Brandy told Kyle and Teddy. Now, again, it's this whole being on a reality show, but ma'am, you were not on that season. This was you trying to get back on the show. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just call a spade a spade. And what I don't like about her in this particular instance is not saying that Denise is a saint, because she's not. But I don't like when third wheels come on to an already established vehicle. And now you get upset because of the fact that you're just throwing it back as a spare tire. Baby girl, you knew what it was. You knew that she was already in a relationship. So you chose to do, if what you're saying is correct, you chose to have this affair with this woman. And you upset at where she placed you. Hey, you was a good time girl. And I mean, that was it. If it did happen. But now you want to be upset because you got your feelings involved? Okay. All right. Whatever. Anyway, so Teddy Mellencamp said that moment with Brandy was speaking to what we all were feeling with Denise during the season. She was pretending to be someone that she was not. It was less about if she and Brandy actually had relations. I use a different word there. Brandy said at this point, I figured people were going to believe what they want to believe, but I felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. Alex Baskin, we were off to Rome literally the next day, and then we were done with the season a couple of weeks later, so it all happened very late. Once the women were in Rome, it was clear several housewives knew more than what they were saying, which led to a very contentious dinner. Teddy Mellencamp says it was brutal. You can see me starting to get more frustrated because I knew that she was lying. I wish with my whole heart that she would have responded differently in that moment. But when she doubled down and was like, I don't have a relationship with this woman, I don't talk to her, there were just so many inconsistencies. Okay, cool. Got it. But this is also one of those where, especially when you know reality television, when certain people don't have a storyline or they're choosing to use somebody else's storyline as their own because there's something that they're trying to hide. Because, I mean, let's be clear. Teddy talked on this season very briefly about everybody being sued, and you sitting here having these women on the very, very calorically restricted meal plan that could, be severe in some lawsuits that are coming from that. But this is something that obviously you did not want to discuss on the show. So, hey, yeah, let's all just go ahead and pile up on Denise. And see, Denise is better than me because, again, you can play it to where, okay, well, hey, I didn't have relations with this woman. Well, what about this? This dinner is great. Can I get some more of these biscuits? This is beautiful. What about that? Oh my gosh, this shrimp scampi is so divine. It is a way to do it rather than doing the whole bravo, bravo, bravo. It's a way to go about this because it's one of those which is like let them talk because unless they're going to, which production can't splice things to make a scene look different than what it is, I ain't gonna give you nothing. You can't use it if I ain't giving you nothing. Am I right? So let me see. Okay, so Lisa Rinna, that's Denise's desperation. Denise is going to double down, and she's never, ever, ever going to admit to anything. Nothing. Brandy says Denise is an ultimate victim. She's Lisa Vanderpump in overall. Ooh, wow. Ooh, I wasn't ready for that one. I'm actually reading this and discussing it with you because I haven't read through any of this. But yeah, that one that one threw me off. It did. Chris Cullen says if she had owned any of her truth, I'm not sure Teddy would have been compelled to reveal the Brandy stuff in such a public way. But when Denise denied all of it and said, I barely know Brandy after Teddy and Kyle just sat with Brandy and heard all these intimate details, it was very hard for Teddy to keep her mouth shut. Erica Girardi, people get mad at Teddy, but she had to bring it up. It was already brought to her. That's what people don't understand. Cal and Teddy got this information the way they got it. They didn't go looking. Cal says the audience got mad, but imagine if they saw that scene with Brandy telling Teddy and me, and then and then we totally dropped it. They would be furious. You can't have the audience hear that and just be like moving on. So someone unfortunately had the effing job of bringing it up, and in this case, Teddy answered the call, which is understandable. But here's the other piece, though: production doesn't have to put that in. Because one thing about it is, obviously, production got in both of their ears like, one of y'all need to drop this. Because if they were to put that scene of Brandy telling them and nothing else comes after it, it's not cohesive, which means they would have had to have deleted that completely because there is no follow through. So, yeah, production got Teddy to be the puppet so we can continue this storyline, so we can continue this story. I've been watching reality television a little bit too much, so it's just like I understand this didn't need to be put out like broken down like this, but I understand what it is. So, hey, I really would have been furious because I didn't like the fact that they all were ganging up on Denise the way they did. And now that we have this current season, now y'all dealing with Erica with kitty gloves, like miss me. But anyway, Brandy says, "Listen, I have no shame in my game. What happened between Denise and me was last season on House was was last season on Housewives. So if I was going to talk about it just for a job, I could have done it then. But Denise ghosted me, and then all of a sudden she heard I was filming, and she was my best friend again. Well, keep your enemies close, duh. I saw it very clearly. I wouldn't do just anything to get back on the show, but I will tell my truth, and I believe that you are a liar because you came on very strong your first season, but you were still a friend of, and you gave. It's like you were doing way too much to get. What do they get on Beverly Hills? I forget what they get. Is it a flute? No, it's a diamond. It's a diamond. You were definitely trying to get a diamond. It just is what it is. But again, it's just be truthful. Be very, very truthful about what it is. But I mean, hey, it is what it is. We're going to uncover some more stuff in some of the other stories. So I'm not trying to give too much because this is probably news most of y'all don't care about. But we're just gonna talk about it. That's all we doing. So Teddy says, I felt bad for Denise, what this could mean for her marriage and all of that, but everybody else at the table was pushing me, pushing me, pushing me, pushing me. Well, that just shows you weak. Like, let's keep it 1,000. Yeah, they were pushing you. Kyle wasn't finna do it, but they were pushing you. You allowed yourself to be you. So, with that being said, you want me to have some sympathy for you, baby? Because I don't. Because I don't. Now, had she just said, "Hey, I was with the ish, and I wanted to be all up in the middle of it, so I can keep my job," I would have appreciated that. But come on, stop playing with me. So Garcelle says, "It's one thing to say, oh, she calls me a B bird, or she says she doesn't like me, and it's another thing to mess with someone where it could affect their marriage and their children and cross the line in a lot of ways. That was tough." And I appreciate that being said, where you are looking out for other people, and then not to mention who Denise has children with. It's just like there's a whole lot right there anyway. But again, when you have someone like Teddy who really does not have much of a storyline, where it's just like I need to do something, especially because if I don't, they're going to start digging into this little bag here. I don't want nobody digging in. We get it. We get it. Lisa Renner says, I will always say that we work for evil geniuses and it's effing dirty. I'm fine with saying that. It's just the way that this genre works. And I don't think anybody who's done a housewife show would disagree with me. But here's also the reality. You also didn't have a storyline either. And I can't deal with somebody who is willing to throw away a 20-year friendship for a bag. And I believe I said this on Really BTV's channel. I would be hollering and cackling if she don't come back, either as a housewife or just don't come back at all, because now you effed up two 20-year relationships, all for a bag. Like, come on now. Nevertheless. Teddy says, it doesn't matter to me if she does have an open marriage. If she doesn't have an open marriage, if she's bi-curious, I am not judging her in any way about that. I want to make that clear, but her story was constantly changing, and that's the part we had a problem with. But y'all were also prying into her relationship. So again, when the smoke clears, it's really none of your business. And Denise, baby, if you ever come back on the show, holla at me. I'm gonna show you how to work around a lot of that stuff. But see, Denise is better than me because when I tell you, I would have sat here and be like, oh, are you talking about me? Okay, so what about, like, when I tell you, I would have flipped that mirror and would have been bringing up they tea on the show. Like, you not finna sit here and try to mess up my relationship. No, you're not. No, you're not. But I've already told y'all in general. If I'm at war with somebody, ain't nothing off limits. I'm a do what I need to do to get you to F up on my back. It's really just that clear. That's just me. Is that one of my flaws? Yes. But again, I'm going to keep it all the way 1,000 where she's like, oh, we're doing this? Okay, well, F these cameras. Let me just go ahead and give it all the way to you. You want it, here you go. All right. So Kyle says it wasn't that she slept with a woman that was shocking. It was she was a newlywed. Like, how could you have just? I'm sorry. How could this have just happened? Didn't she just get married? And there's a lot of confusion about that. People are like, "Why are you so shocked? It's a girl." It's not about that. It's cheating, not is. I'm sorry. It's cheating, not cheating. Do we need to bring up your husband Mauricio and what the hell he got going on? Why you so worried about somebody's relationship? Like this has absolutely nothing to do with you. But nevertheless, moving on, moving on. So Teddy says the perfectly prepared speech on her final night in Rome was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. She had said repeatedly, I don't want to talk about any of this anymore. We all agreed on that the night before. And then she came in with this speech about Mean Girls and understanding why Lisa Vanderpump left the group. And I remember being at a dinner with her after last season where she was trashing Lisa Vanderpump. So that inconsistency was really not sitting well with me. The conflict peaked when Denise broke the fourth wall, calling Bravo, Bravo, Bravo in an attempt to ensure the tape would never air. And one thing about that is not that it wouldn't air, it would just be that they would have had to do a whole lot of manipulations to cut out right before and right after she said Bravo, 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 but Bravo would have been able to still spin that narrative, any way, shape, form they see fit. And even with the breaking of the fourth wall, we saw that I believe it was last season with the Real Housewives of Atlanta where Kenya, uh, Cynthia and her sister were doing yoga, and at one point, I believe it was King says, "Well, I don't want to break the fourth wall," and they was like, "No, break the fourth wall." So you sometimes can't do that. I just want to throw that out there. So Alice Baskin, I know Denise says she was told that Bravo, Bravo, Bravo was the code to get us to stop. Uh, Starting, I'm sorry, what was it? To get us to stop, started shooting again. That's when Denise vanished on us. That's when she stopped shooting. And as you can see, they still showed all of that. So in essence, it didn't work. Andy Cohen says the women were pissed towards the end of the season because they were showing up and they were doing the work, but she was not showing up at group events, not filming. Teddy says it became, why did you stop showing up? Why don't you confront Brandy? Alice Baskin, we encouraged Denise to have a moment with Brandon. We had a whole series of conversations with Denise before Teddy's baby shower at Dorit's room where we were told, listen, here's your chance to have the moment with Brandy and just be done with it. We did not ambush her. We can't always tell the cast everything, but we don't want to lie to them. And it's like no ish. We no ish, we'd have Brandy there because that was good TV and we'll be trying to make it if we didn't have her there. But that's the show. But she worried Brandy was going to try to provoke a Jerry Springer moment. That's the phrase she kept using. So she walked through all of that. And Denise was advised poorly, in our view, that she just shouldn't show up. Then she would dark on us the day of the party. Chris Cullen, the next day, her lawyer sent a legal letter to Bravo, Evolution, and Brandy, and she vanished. Brandy says, Denise, seriously, she's the biggest narcissist. For her to stop production sent us all legal letters exhausting. For the way in which like fourth walls was broken in season 10, there was still more tea to spill. Specifically, Denise denials fell flat with Bravo celebrities who went back. Who went to BravoCon in late 2019 and saw her behavior that fit a pattern. And Lisa Renna says at BravoCon we heard that Denise went out with ROH. I'm sorry, Real Housewives, I guess, of OC ladies, and asked them to sit on her face, and that was what we heard. So that's all of that. That was a lot. I don't even know if I want to do the last couple of stories because, goodness gracious, this is a lot to read. And of course, you guys are also getting my live reactions, but it just is what it is. I don't think any more needs to be said on this particular topic, concerning these two women, but I do have a feeling if we do get Denise back, that chances are Rena won't come back because, hey, I mean, one of the two of them will give you storyline. The most that Lisa's going to do is just instigate some stuff, and if they bring back Denise, they're probably going to try to slide Brandy in some way, shape, form, or fashion. I would just assume. So let's go ahead and talk about these two. So Puppygate. It's really not a whole lot to say, but I do have this, and this is from page 6. So Lisa Rinna is taking a line from Lisa Vanderpump playbook. The truth always comes out. And she wrote that in a since deleted post on her IG stories. And this was all in reference to the infamous quote unquote Radar Online exposing the whole puppy case scandal. This was during season 9, if I didn't already say that. And pretty much all that it was is, um, let me see, Lisa Vanderpump had, like a little doggy shelter, if you will, where they were trying to promote, adopting these puppies and whatnot. Dorit got a puppy, wasn't able to, I guess, deal with it allegedly, and allegedly gave it to a kill shelter. Right, and I get it allegedly, rather than just giving it back to Lisa Vanderpump or putting in a different shelter that is not necessarily a kill shelter. That news got back to Lisa, and it was being reported that Lisa is the one that leaked it to Radar Online so that it could blow up, so she could have a storyline. That is pretty much the ins and out of that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, and this was also a part of the book, but I mean, that's it. But I was sitting there just like, is this really a story? Like, we know these women will create a storyline, just like the network will help to foster one. So okay, it is what it is. Like I said, Lisa Vanderpump, not one of my favorites. I surely don't like Dorit. So moving on. So now we have these four ladies. Now this all really revolves around Bethany Frankel. Um, Make sure I have that here. Yes. So pretty much, and I'm just going to give the gist of it because I'm going to do a lot of reading. I don't want to really want to read too much into this particular one. But on the show, I forget exactly which season it is at this point. Really don't matter. But Bethany Frankel was all distraught because she got a text message with a photo from a friend showing that at the moment, so this right, so I don't know if y'all can see my cursor, but Bethany Frankel, and this is Luann, her boyfriend, I believe it was Tom at the moment, was cheating. And she was distraught about bringing it to her because of how it was sent. Well, the ladies are saying that that was all staged where, you know, Bethany had a friend there, and when this whole thing developed, was able to get the shot to send it to her so she could then therefore bring it to the show. So let me see. So I guess I'll read a bit of this. So part 2 of the book, Bite of the Apple, is all about New York City, the women of New York City. And this is all from 2fab.com. Let me say that. And it includes new allegation of Bethany alleged role in exposing Luann de Lesseps' then fiance Tom as a cheat. Okay. And then according to Carol Razawil, who used to be a friend of hers, says that, you know, Bethany had set up that shot. And even Ramona Singer says, you know, it was totally planned, that Tom thing. She says that in the book as well. So you have the ladies pretty much saying, like, this is pretty much her MO. And again, am I surprised? No. Did it make for good TV? Yes, it did. So this is them doing what it is they need to do to get it to be on the show. And of course, many of them did not want to talk about that because it kind of sort of breaks the fourth wall. So that's why they did it. And Jill even, you know, feels the same exact way because you know, they had stopped talking for a while, and you know, Jill made for good TV, and I think they said it's because of either Ramona or Bethany that she never came back to the show. But when her husband passed on, I forget her husband's name, but her husband was good friends with Bethany as well. So Bethany showed up to the funeral, and all the other women said they were not going to do the whole camera thing, but Bethany was the only one that did. And they said, and I believe Jill even said that she felt that was just all for a moment, because after that particular scene, like, Bethany did not even contact her after the fact. So Bethany has her own podcast. I might give it a listen this week to see, what all she has to say about it, because I'm pretty sure she's going to have to sit here and tell her side of this story, because yeah, not making her look too good. All right, do. Let's see who else we got. All right, so I think we all knew that at some point this was going to come back. And we keep on talking about season 5, and I know everybody's just like, we're done talking about season 5. I really wish we were done too. I really wish. But anyway, and I think I just spilled some lemonade on myself. Ha! And I probably should have made mention that some of the names, like, if you don't know some of these names, these are producers. So just want to throw it out there. So Joshua Brown says, I was not aware of who Andy calls and doesn't call. I personally spoke to Candiace many times and hope she feels like the network was and is very supportive of her, because we've had a lot of thoughtful and emotional conversations about what happened. Candiace says, Bravo didn't give a FUCK about me and how traumatized and horrible this situation has been for me. Yes, I have been reached out to and approached and checked on more times than I can count. But in my eyes, they're just doing it to avoid legalities. Could be. Could be. Monique says, Andy also told me something I really held on to. He said, look, not saying that anything is right, but there's a thing called cause and effect. If you keep poking the bear is going to bite back. He wasn't condoning violence or taking sides. I still own my part in it, but he said, just do what you can. Andy says, my point of view on this stuff has totally been skewed by what happened with Kenya and Porsha, because I was the only person in the room that day who didn't understand why Kenya was provoking Porsha and what it was, and that it was about to escalate. That's why I kind of started looking at what was Candace's role in this. That's usually for me, because with any case of physical aggression, the person who gets physical is the one who is being punished. I get where Andy is coming from. And here's the reality. A lot of the time, if there is an altercation between two people, both people contribute. Now, one more than the other, but both people contribute in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Now, like with the whole Kenya and Porsha thing, Kenya was doing the absolute most. We all can agree on that. She was doing the absolute most. But, and this is not defending Kenya's actions, but this is her making sure that everything is lively, because because you have a lot of people that will watch maybe like the first 2 episodes, watch the last 2 episodes, and then watch the reunion, and they miss the whole middle. So trying to keep it lively to keep people's attention. But, and yes, like, that was way too far. Especially, I think it was a speakerphone that she put in her face. Like, yeah, way too much. And we can also say that, Porsha could have gotten up and walked away. It is what it is. We can see him play all these different sides. But I get where Andy is saying, where he's just trying to see where the other person could have played a part in all of this. And again, we're not rehashing all of the events of season 5 of Potomac. We're just not doing. I'm not doing it. We gonna talk about it, but I ain't rehashing it. So Giselle says, but this was so different. Even as provoking as Kenya was, Porsha apologized profusely immediately, but not to the person that she physically attacked. She apologized to Andy Cohen. She apologized to Cherie Levine. I don't know who Cherie Levine, whatever. She apologized to everybody. She didn't then go on social media and try to lie about what happened. She didn't try to vilify her castmates. We to this day have not seen Monique grow from this experience. Debatable. Andy Cohen says the irony is that I ultimately push Monique on her lack of okay, yeah, I'm missing a piece. Whatever. Robin says Monique leaked the story to her fans in the press right away, and we knew it was her because the details of the fight were totally skewed against Candiace. Monique says, I never leaked the story to the bloggers. I told my family and a friend. I know who leaked it, but it wasn't me. This probably would have been the time to just say who said it. But again, I guess Monique is feeling, let me take all the heat, and because I don't need to expose my family and whatnot. But and again, we're not gonna sit here and act like for those of us who have gotten into certain physical altercations and whatnot that we haven't gone back and told a good friend or family, whatever. Just is what it is. But that also should have been followed up with a hey, don't leak this. Does part of me feel that she told one of them with the intent of knowing they were probably going to leak it? I do. I'm just saying I do. Try to get ahead of the story. So Lorraine Halton says Monique is intoxicated by the fame, like intoxicated. But at the same time, she would deny that she had anything to do with the leaking of the story. She'll tell you, I only told two people. Okay, well then, Monique, they told the blogs, you know what you're doing. Okay, well, I kind of just said that. Andy said, I never reached out to Monique. She reached out to me and asked if I was available and she wanted to speak with me. That's how the conversation happened. She wanted to plead her case and tell her side of things. She wanted to prove to me that Candiace provoked her. Monique said Andy and I had a great talk. Andy listened. He did not try to justify anything. He just said sometimes cameras catch things and sometimes cameras don't. I think that probably was in reference to the whole Nene and Kim thing where the cameras didn't catch it, but it was a topic of conversation, but you couldn't prove it. If this is what you feel played out, stay true to what you feel, have and maintain that. We'll sort it out when we get to see the footage and when we get to the reunion. And he also says we don't like when ish like this happens. It's a bad look for the series. It's not why we created this show. The show is not meant to be the Bad Girls Club. It's not meant to be Love and Hip Hop. Now, Andy, in saying that, you're full of it. Now, I can't sit here and fully recall every last situation that has happened on the show because I know I think somebody had mentioned somewhere that they didn't like the fact that Judice, whatever his name is, and Joe Gorga from New Jersey, them fighting because it was like, well, that wasn't the ladies. Okay, well, you have Teresa about ready to flip a table, but someone was like, but that wasn't direct contact. Now you had, gosh, I just lost her name just that quickly, but the girl in which that was all involving when it comes to Teresa, apparently she stabbed her with a fork. I think it might have been her hand or whatnot. But not just that. That same Danielle Staub. Not only her hair was pulled at one of the scenes. I believe that was season 2. She also pulled Marge's hair. That was encouraged by Teresa. Like there are like you have women throwing drinks in people's faces. Ramona had broke a glass on somebody when they was on this one trip. I forget who the woman was, but there's all these different instances. So to say this and you specifically listen Love and Hip Hop, like you know what you're doing, but you only do this when it involves the African American housewives and not the other housewives. Because you allowed one of your employees, Teresa, to push you. And when it was all said and done, you're like, oh yeah, you're strong. Laugh that shit off. Like, what employer is going to do that? Seriously. So there are other instances of your housewives on other in other cities doing these things, but you don't say nothing. Nothing. But moving on. Monique says Andy was really there for me when all this stuff was going down. I didn't feel like I was getting support from anybody. And I wanted an unbiased ear, someone who had been around so much this who could give me some advice. Candiace said, I even reached out to Andy's assistant and asked for him to call me. Nothing. That's effed up. I know he has well over 100 housewives all texting and calling him all the time. But how many of them were physically attacked on camera by their co-star? A couple. The fact that he couldn't even schedule 10 minutes to reach out to me, you don't give a F. You are making money off our backs and feeding your son with it, and you just don't give a F about us, and you can't tell me that you do. And when I saw him, I did say that to his face. Now, Carol, who was also, not also, but who was on New York, had actually said in a tweet that, because Andy was saying that, he provided her with an opportunity. She was like, no, you made your fortune off the backs of us women. This is how you made your fortune. So you have two different women from two different cities, two different franchises, all saying the same exact thing. Nevertheless, I do appreciate the fact that she said it to his face. So I mean, there's that. So Monique says Candiace kept trying to have a conversation with me, but I have conversations with me, but I was not going to do it one on one. I wanted witnesses around, and every single time she didn't want to talk. All of a sudden, we are at the winery, and she gets this liquid courage to finally talk. She was trying to start an argument, and I was just laughing. Okay, now Monique, I love you, but you weren't just laughing. It kind of sort of was the other way around that she was actually laughing, making a joke of everything. And even if she did want to talk one on one, y'all could have still had that one on one conversation with the cameras around. Because let's be clear, if if these women want a certain scene to happen, they can reach out to production, and production will be there. It might be a minimal crew, but production will be there to catch the interaction. Just saying. Candiace said, when Monique was threatening to drag me at the hoedown, I never thought she would because I thought there was a line that everyone knew not to cross. Well, baby girl, you don't assume things. Now, we don't do that. Monique said, I wanted to throw that bottle at her head during the whole I'll drag you pregnant and all. I had to restrain myself. I probably wouldn't have said that, but okay, she's being honest. Candice said, I had been drinking red wine all day and I had zero inhibitions about climbing on top of the table and telling that B to get the F out of my house, period. Monique says, and this is in reference to football head, Ashley. Monique said, this is when I started to feel unsafe around Candice. If she would throw a knife in somebody's face, okay, Monique, you was threatening for your life, baby. You really was. Like, I'm not saying that she doesn't, but just based off of how everything panned out and how like on it she was when it came to Candice, it's hard for me to believe that. It's just hard for me too. Like I said, I love both of them, but yeah, no. Giselle said that 10 seconds everyone has run with that until the cows have come home. Oh my God, Giselle Hazel Monique, today, yes I do. I'm sorry, today, yes. I do hate Monique, but I didn't then. You are so full of shit. Like, stop playing, Giselle. Seriously, stop playing. Giselle says, by the way, you're welcome for the butter knife scene. Yeah, because had you not told Ashley to come back in, we wouldn't have had it. And that's one of those where I feel that Candice, even though she had everybody be upset with Ashley, misdirected because that definitely should have went at Giselle, but I don't know if she knew. Candice says Giselle likes to think she's produced that whole damn thing. Giselle says, I pushed the story down the road. I want the truth and I know how to get it. We all know what she does. It's just amazing to us that either A, these women don't see it or they just turn a blind eye to it. Nevertheless, Ashley Darby says Giselle thinks she should be in the credits, to be honest. She gives herself a lot of credit for orchestrating things. And to be fair, she does. Giselle says, I don't want it to be boring. Nobody wants to watch that. But we didn't get to see your whole breakdown at the reunion last season. But okay, all right. Because we definitely wanted to see that. We did. We didn't give a fuck about you and Jamal. But we wanted to see that. Candice said, I was told that she was not given a choice to film with us anymore. When he says the network did not penalize me at all, not a financial demotion, nothing. Noah Sampton, Monique was put at arm's length from the rest of the housewives, which means she wasn't as much of a part of the show, and that's obviously a form of punishment in terms of the amount of episodes she ended up in and her relationship with the rest of the women. There are repercussions in a lot of different ways. Whew. When I tell you that is a lot, that is a lot. And the only revealing thing is Giselle being forthcoming about the role that she plays on the show, despite the fact we all know that. It's just the women allow her to do it, and I don't understand why. As of right now, the only woman that is not allowing Giselle to do that as things are progressing and not at the reunion is Wendy. That is the only person that is staying on that ass. On that ass. So, this is the last one. Because I need to get in here and start preparing some lunch for myself. And probably some breakfast. I really haven't eaten anything. Like, I've been trying to get all this stuff done because, you know, it's Sunday right now. And I try to make sure this is out either at midnight Monday or early in that morning. So, you know, you guys have something to listen to and all the good jazz while you're getting ready for work on your way to work. You know, yeah, yeah. So now it's these three. The infamous, ooh, R-gate. I'm going to just say R-gate because I don't want to, you know, because I think the R word is one of those no words. One of those no, you can't say that. Ah, na, na, na. Okay. So let's get into it. So Kandi said, when I had that lunch with Porsha, I was just like, I really got to put her on blast. Basically, at the top, I was like, if you want to talk about somebody being in the lady pond, we're going to let people know that you're in the lady pond too. I was being open about the moment she and I had in the club with the whole kiss situation off camera. That was a year and a half prior to us having that argument, and it was something that neither she nor I told anyone. It was our own personal secret. She should have said little secret to, you know, y'all know the song Escape Little Secret. Yeah. So when I said when you kissed me in a club and you said you wanted to face in a place till I you know what, then she was like, "Oh, you mean when you tried to drug me?" It completely threw me for a loop. I was like, "Wait, what?" I honestly almost laughed at her because I thought she was joking, and when she kept going with it, I was like, "Okay, wait, this B is serious." I was so furious. I could not believe she said that. I called production like, obviously y'all cannot let this be go on national TV talking about how I tried to drug her. Like, that's insane. And they were like, nobody's going to believe it. Why are you worried? But I was like, she can't put that BS out into the world. Now, this is very upsetting to me because it's just like, y'all don't believe her because, oh, it's so salacious, no one's going to believe it. But see, here's one thing that I will say, like, and I've seen this in the military where I'm gonna just be very general because I don't need to be going back and forth with y'all. But you'll have somebody that will make a claim, an assault, whatever, claim, and you'll have people that will leave the unit before this thing is even resolved. But the fact that they heard just a little bit, okay, now they're over here, and everybody gossips. Or if that person comes to this brand new duty station, it has already been talked about and leaked. So now you have to literally fight a uphill battle. And then you also have to remember when it comes to certain parts in these shows, people might tune in. Like if they know it's going to be like they again watch like the first two episodes, stop watching up until the reunion. But if something interesting is about to happen, people will tune in just long enough to get that and then stop watching. And even if a few people believe it, it doesn't take a lot. When you're talking about wildfires and whatnot, all you need is a little kindling. It's something so small that can create something so big. You don't need that many people, and we all know the truth will make it around the world about a good 3-4 times. I'm sorry, a lie will make it across the world 3 or 4 times before the truth ever will. So I can understand her being upset. Plus, you also have to put into perspective. Once it was put out there and it aired, there were, I want to say, at least maybe 10 more episodes before we even got to the reunion. That's 10 weeks, right? That's like almost 3 months where this is out there. This is in circulation. So any businesses, any deals that she had going on once that clip aired could have derailed everything that she worked for. And the reality is, especially in, we can say Hollywood again. Like I said, the military is a microcosm of what America really is, what the world really is. So it's one of those where you don't always recover from that. Even if the truth finally comes out, enough damage has happened, then you're still going to have those couple which is like, well, I believe it. Or using the fact that she is, very sexual and open about what she does in the bedroom, possibly using that to, further, say, hey, well, she does this, so why is that far fetched? This probably might come. Let me just keep reading because I'm sitting here giving y'all stuff that ain't even over here. So Carlos King said, I'll be very honest, at the time, none of the producers thought anything of what Porsha said. We know Kandi. We knew she would never do anything like that. Yes, production does. Not all of America. We never thought this was something to follow. We saw it as, okay, Porsha, that was shady, but let's move on. But Kandi would not let it go. She kept bringing it up. She kept talking about it. We didn't get why this was becoming something bigger when we all were looking at this as nothing more than shade. It wasn't until Kandi said that she refused to be around Porsha that we thought Porsha was trying to, because she thought that Porsha was trying to ruin her brand, that we got it. She was upset. She wanted to clear her name, and rightfully so. It's her reputation on the line, but it wasn't expected. Yeah, it wasn't expected for us. Pretty much what the hell I just said. But again, like, if this is your talent, you should be taking this ish very, very seriously. And at the same exact time, this could have been very negative for Bravo altogether, where people, because there were talks about a lot of people just jumping ship from watching the show because of something like this being perpetuated. So Kandi says, I was boiling mad at the point because I realized a person can say anything about you and just put it out there. I mean, how can someone say something like that with a straight face? I was like, this bee is trying to make me look like a lying, crazy person. Carlos said Porsha kept saying, that's what I heard, but we had no idea who she heard it from. We were all perplexed. We kept asking, well, who did you hear from? But she wouldn't say. None of us knew. I left the show not even knowing. Believe me, if Porsha had told us she heard it from Phaedra, we would have used it. That's not something you can say for the reunion. And I honestly believe him. I really do. Because they would have forced that scene. But I mean, that was some good reunion tea. But yeah. Cynthia Bailey says, we filmed the whole season not knowing, and then the reunion, Porsha said that Phaedra was the one that told her, which was just which was a total shock to all of us. Andy says he was speechless. Someone by the name of Season Kabusoglu. I am not trying to mispronounce your name. Trust me when I say it, but you know who you is. That really was a watershed moment for the show. It was really, and it was, I'm sorry, and it really was, as far as you saw, our reaction in the control room as it was happening were exactly the same as the women on the stage that day. Carlos said, I guess the reason Porsha brought that up at the reunion was because she saw how the storyline played out on the show, and she wanted what people were saying about her on social media, and she felt that the need to tell her truth and save herself. Cynthia said once it was revealed that Phaedra was behind everything, Kandi was done. Kandi wanted no part of her. They had a genuine friendship for many years, but Kandi was devastated Phaedra would involve herself in a plot to take her down like that. Kandi said Phaedra and I had gotten super close and had a lot of fun. Ty, Phaedra, Paula, and I would all hang out. But over the last 2 seasons, we started having a falling out. She got mad when I told Andy she should take the kids to see Apollo in prison, and there was a whole thing of her saying she was upset about Apollo having his motorcycle at our house, as if we were letting him hide stuff from her. It was just a bunch of little things, but on the show, not only do you have the drama when it happens, but then it comes on TV and happens again, which makes it worse because the fans are chiming in, and then you have it again at the reunion, and that makes it even worse. You never really have an opportunity to talk about it through and dead the issues. So the things that were happening in season 7 and 8 were messed up in our friendship, but what happened in season 9, to me, that was the ultimate low. Sheree said I sat on the stage like everybody else with the mouth open, literally crying. That was a fake cry because I couldn't believe it and was so upset. Kandi says, you know that feeling when you find something out about someone and it triggers your mind to go in reverse and think about every moment that person was sitting right there with you and you didn't know they were the one pulling the strings the entire time. That's how I felt about Phaedra. So that's why I was like, yeah, I can never come around her again or be involved with her or do business with her. Cynthia says, and then Phaedra blamed everything on Carlos King, saying that he had been the one who told her. Kandi said she blamed Carlos, but it was a effing lie. Carlos said, I never said anything to Phaedra about it ever. Kandi says, I guess Porsha had a conversation with Phaedra right before the reunion to be like, are you sure Kandi said that to you? And Phaedra said yes. So then when she blamed Carlos at the reunion, Porsha was like, no, but you told me Kandi said that to you out of her own mouth. And with that particular piece, it was not having to go back and say, well, we did text messages 3-4 months ago. Like literally, I just talked to you about it, and you said that Kandi told you, clearing her name. Andy said none of us believed that was true. Phaedra had told Porsha she heard it from Kandi directly, but now, pinning on Carlos, it felt fishy. Kandi said, to be clear, I don't just blame Phaedra. I had issues with Phaedra for a long time because I was like, you knew what Phaedra was doing. I'm sorry. You knew what Phaedra said wasn't true. Like you knew GD well that we had a moment where it could have gone there and nobody made you to stop trying to say that you believe anything this woman told you. But the fact that Phaedra said this to Porsha off camera and then came back and tried to be like, oh, well, the producer told me to say it, hell no. Cynthia says, all I know is Phaedra is one of the smartest women on the show, somewhat. I don't know if God himself could convince Phaedra to do something that she didn't want to do, let alone Carlos. Carlos said, by that point, I had left the show. The season was wrapped, and both Bravo and Andy knew I was moving on from the show. So when the allegations were made that I told Phaedra the rumor, and people started saying that I had been fired from Bravo because of it, I was furious. And that's some low down dirty stuff, but I can see that because if he had already left the show and they hadn't filmed a reunion yet, and now she knows that he's no longer part of production, it's easy to sit there and place the blame. So Season said Carlos was not fired. We love working with Carlos. What Carlos brought to the show was just as important as the Real Housewives of Atlanta's success as anything. But Carlos was going in his own direction. His own production company was taking it up, and he wanted to work on his own projects. It was a natural parting of ways. Carlos said, I'm usually a cool, easygoing guy, but I was shaking. I screamed. I cried. I thought my career was over. It was really bad. I remember Andy Cohen calling my cell phone the day after filming the reunion and told me, I just want you to know we don't believe this. We support you. Cynthia says, I just remember walking away from the reunion thinking, wow, this has gone to a scary level of lowness. Now, if people can just make up stuff that's hurtful to your character and your brand, and you have to watch it play out all season long, live on TV and social media before you can ever be vindicated, that's a problem. Because we're never going to get everyone to see the truth. So I got to be real careful now. A lot of people don't realize those rumors stuck around for a long time. Not every viewer makes it to the reunion. I'll still hear people be like, oh, isn't Kandi the one that was trying to drug and RAPE Porsha? Like you didn't see that ended up being exposed to be not true, but it's still out there on the internet. It stays out there. As a result, Phaedra was not asked to return to the cast for the show's 10th season. And that was kind of going back to what I was saying about how it is in the military, where people would just hear a little piece, might go to a different news station or whatever, but they don't know the results of what happened. So they're continuing to perpetuate what that is. And you had some people that decided to stop watching the show after that part came on because it was just like, oh my gosh, that's nasty, that's vile. So you had a lot of people that never made it to the reunion. So this thing is still out there. And it does suck. And we've all had this conversation. So I don't think we need to really go back down that road. But I mean, y'all can post in the comments. I'll respond. Y'all know I do most of the time anyway. Katie Bird said nobody assured me Phaedra wouldn't be coming back. I just said I'm not going to be here if she's here. So if y'all want her to be here, that's fine. I'm just not going to be here. That was her own call because obviously it wasn't just me she lied on. She lied on production. Either way, I knew I would never ever deal with her again. Seven said, I don't think, or Season, however you said the person's name, I don't think it was a huge surprise for Phaedra. She saw it coming. She was called Red Hand at the reunion. Even when you watch that episode back today, you can see that she just gave up. She could have said something to make it better, but she didn't. I was like, she knew she could not come back from this. The whole situation was beyond anything we had dealt with as a network before. It was important for us at that moment to show Kandi that we did not take what Phaedra did lightly. Cynthia said, I had no idea Phaedra would be fired. I knew it wasn't a good look, but she was a big player on the show. She had a great relationship with Andy. She had a great relationship with Andy. But at the same exact time, we saw what it was. We saw exactly what it was. And she might have been a big player, but I mean, like her last 2 seasons, she really didn't give anything, especially when Apollo left. Like, they're also in her storyline. All right, that was a lot. That was a lot. So I don't know. I might get the book. I haven't quite decided, but we shall see. But let's go ahead and wrap this thing up with spotlight, shining the spotlight on P-Pal. So one of the first, because I only got two. I only got two. So the first one is Lil Nas X. He was honored by the city of Atlanta, so receiving October 20th as his very own day. So congrats, kudos to him. And last but not least, Dawn, I believe her name is Staley or Staley. Again, I don't really do sports, so don't get mad at me now. Okay. But the University of South Carolina basketball's coach, Dawn, becomes the highest paid African American woman, black woman, coach in college sports with 22.4 million extension. I ain't got nothing else to say. I'm about to. Can you let me $20? But that is it. But definitely kudos to her. Kudos to her. Like, that is a great thing to hear. So get your money, boo boo. Get your money. But that's it, y'all. That is all that I have. So thank you guys so much for watching. I know this was a long episode. Well, actually, last week I think it was longer. Doesn't matter. But please rate, comment, subscribe, and share. Since this is coming out after Potomac, make sure you catch that review. Make sure you also catch me on the Whether You Like It or Not Real Housewives of Potomac panel. I believe we will be at Terrence's house for this. So catch me there. And yeah, I will see you guys for whatever's next. Dang that. All right, peace out.